Wonderful. I want to welcome everybody this evening. Everybody who's on Facebook, everybody who is on this Zoom, and I want to go ahead and switch it to gallery view because for some reason it's on Tracy. Okay, you were looking good, Tracy, just so you know. All right, I'm Lisa Goucher, and we have several on here, but really the most important person this evening is Jen. So Tracy, will you turn your camera off so that it won't stay on you? And then I'm going to do speaker only, and hopefully that will just highlight Jen. Let's see. So Jen, I want to thank you for being here this evening. And the reason I am doing this is because we did this once before. I have two friends that are really, really suffering some hair loss and have, incredible frustration, lack of confidence. And the time that we spent with Jen, I was just learning and soaking it all in, but it really created more assurances for them. Just more information is powerful. And I think that there's just so much that can be had and shared with what she has to offer. So Jen Frunze, she is a cosmetologist and she's a trichologist. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Jen?
Yeah, trichologist. It's an associate psychologist. So
that sounds better. Trichologist sounds better than trichologist. So trichologist, you're either working a corner or you're pulling some tricks on, it's Halloween's coming up. So the try sounds much better.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I thought we would do this with a Q&A because after we had that last one, I just thought it might be super helpful. So I'm going to change the view here again, and I hope it puts you in the speaker's window. Beautiful. Okay, first of all, let's start out with that. Jen, would you tell us what a trichologist is?
So a trichologist basically is someone who studies the hair and the scalp. It's basically where you've got basically to where you have a dermatologist and a cosmetologist come together as one. So there's things that a dermatologist does that I, will not be able to do. So then I will refer them to a dermatologist. But there's certain things that I, can do. So, it's just basically learning more in depth about the hair and the scalp, the body, just different things, different diseases, scalp conditions, hair loss. There's a big variety of different things that you learn to be a trichologist.
Okay, that's super interesting. And tonight we're going to focus on your education related to hair loss and recovery. So first and foremost, there's a two-part question here. What are the causes of hair loss? And you've used this word before, and I think it's interesting. What's a triggering event?
So as far as the causes, there's so many different causes. I mean, you can't just pinpoint to one or two things.
So what are you going to do?
I don't have time to call that 1-800 number during the day.
Oh, no.
An 800 number. Can we get it? Anyway, so yeah, as far as, things that trigger it, basically it could be hormonal, it could be pregnancy, it could be stress, it could be COVID, it could be, I don't know, did I say pregnancy? Anything traumatic that happens in your life, anesthesia from a surgery. There's many, many different things that can actually trigger the hair loss. Any event in your life, anything that happens, what basically happens is it puts your follicle in a shock. And then so basically it's called telogen effluvium. So TE for short. So basically that's what it is called. And so it puts your follicle in shock, and then all of a sudden it puts your hair into the fallout phase. So you've got 3 stages of the hair. So it actually automatically goes in and puts it into that fallout phase, and then you start, shedding. But there's so many different causes. It could be, deficiencies in your body. The list can go on and on.
Right, right. There's no one thing. And the thing that prompted the call that we did before had to do with two individuals suffering great hair loss related to COVID. And one was vaxxed and one wasn't vaxxed, but it didn't matter. They were both seeing the same results, like dramatic hair loss that
Yeah.
seemed to go on forever. So my neck, because you know, every time you see that much, like it seems like forever. So my next question for you, from the time that there's a triggering event, like let's say an illness or anesthesia or weight loss, like you use the term textbook. So according to textbook, from the time that there's a triggering event, how long before they typically see a lot of hair fall?
It could be anywhere from 2 to 4 months afterwards.
And so by that time, they're past the event and they don't have any idea what to relate it to, right?
Right, exactly.
It
They
makes
think, oh
no
my gosh, what's
sense.
happening now?
And then, okay, I want to back it up just a little more because like we're meant to have normal hair loss. So would you just speak to like what generally normal hair loss looks like?
So normal hair loss, they say, they keep changing the numbers, but now they have the numbers, I'm going to say 100 to 200, maybe 250 hairs a day. Everybody's different. You're going to know what your hair loss is. When you get out of the shower, or you're brushing your hair, typically when you get out of the shower, that's a lot of the time that it's going to happen. You're going to see what's kind of out, in the shower, in the drain or whatever. But everybody's hair loss is different, but that's pretty much, a standard, 100 to 250 hairs a day. And if you feel like you're having more than that, or if you're having more than your normal shed, which we can still, have an extreme shed a couple times a year, that is common too. And that just happens. But if you're having it consistently, then that's when you start to worry and think, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm losing all my hair. So that's pretty much the norm.
And then when you see the excess hair fall, based upon what you just said a moment ago, like you need to look back to up to 4 months ago, like what was going on in your life, what was going on in your body, right?
Right, exactly. And sometimes maybe you didn't even have anything going on. And then you don't even know, but all of a sudden it's like you're experiencing this hair loss. So then, people sometimes what they'll do, then they go see their doctor or their dermatologist. And the first thing they do is they're going to do blood, well, then it could come back. And sometimes they're like, oh, this might be low or that might be, low, whatever. But there's a lot of times now we're finding that the blood work comes back and it's completely normal. And then they're like, okay, now what's going on?
Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead since you already touched on that. Somebody is losing hair, they don't know what to attribute it to, or they do know what to attribute it to, but they're going to their doctor. They've done all the lab work. Essentially, they're normal, like it's not like crazy. So the doctor doesn't have a huge recommendation on like, this is it, this is what we need to supplement. What other solution or option is there as far as the work that you do in trichology to help identify and find solutions for hair loss?
So for about a year and a half, 2 years now, I've been with another company. It's called Healthy Cells, and they actually do, and it's all across the United States. They do some in other countries. I'm not exactly sure which countries it is, but we actually do what's called epigenetic follicle testing. Basically the first thing, I guess I should back up a little bit. The first thing you should do is maybe find a trichologist or find somebody that is more into, I'm going to say holistic or naturopath, because they're going to look at your levels totally different. It's just like when you go to your hormone specialist for a woman for her hormones. I can go to my OB and they're going to tell me, oh, your estrogen and your testosterone are fine. But if I go to a hormone specialist, not an endocrinologist, but an actual hormone specialist, their numbers are typically a little bit different. So it's almost like they go out of two different books. So they may say, your levels are at 50 and they're supposed to be between 1 and 200. Of course, that's a wide range.
Mm-hmm.
So with the epigenetic follicle testing, basically what that does is we go in and we take about 3 of your hair strands out of the back of your head. And we take it out by the follicle, and then I have a scanner, and I scan it. And then in about 30 minutes, I get a 30-page report back. And that goes over everything pretty much in the last 3 to 4 months that has been going on in your body. And it goes over like your food sensitivities, antioxidants, amino acids, environmental, resistance. There's a lot more and stuff to do there, but it will actually say what's going on with you specifically on any deficiencies that you have, or something that you may have too much radiation in your body. You may have, mold, you may have a parasite, you may have a fungus, all of these different things, which the doctor isn't going to test for. They're not going to get that. So we can go in and actually dive in a lot deeper and find out exactly what is going on. And then we can treat it from there. Anything else that we do, it's just like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yes. And the other thing I should have said in the very beginning is that everything that we're sharing today, the Q&A with Jen, the products, the processes, everything here is about wellness, preventative, topical, supplements, not necessarily like Rogaine or Minoxidil or Propecia or Nioxin. That's not what we're looking for here. Here we're looking for vegan, everything that can potentially be healthy to apply to your hair and scalp, and then also with the additional testing like she's talking about. Now, can you tell me again what the name of that test is that you do when you send off the 3 hair follicles?
So it's called epigenetic follicle testing.
So follicle
Basically,
testing.
Yeah, I have like an elevator pitch, so I can, of course I have it here. I haven't memorized it, but this is what I've kind of come up with. So it provides data-driven information to prioritize exactly where your body needs healing. Sometimes it's the gut, sometimes it's hormones, but it takes the guesswork out of it. So this way we can customize your healing protocol based off of exactly what the body needs.
Okay. Wow. That's wonderful. That's a great summary of the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. So now let's go back to talking about, when there's a triggering event and somebody is starting to lose lots of hair, excess, more than normal. How long can, you said there's 3 phases of the hair as far as growth. And then what are the other 2?
So you've got, the way I always remember it, if you remember it, it's ACT. So you've got the anagen phase, you've got the, catagen phase and the telogen phase.
Okay.
So 3 different phases.
And how long, when somebody's had a triggering event, like how long will they stay in that fallout phase?
You know what, honestly, with that, there's really no answer, because everybody can be completely different.
So somebody could like stay in it if they're not being uber proactive, like they could stay in it.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. And then what, okay, so what supplements can someone take, and then how long does it take for the supplements to kick in? Like, let's say they're not ready to go through the hair follicle testing. They just want to know, okay, I want to be preventative or proactive, even, at whatever phase, what supplements?
So, supplements can be good too. Sometimes that's all they need, supplements, because maybe their, vitamin A or vitamin D or their ferritin levels or something are low. So supplements aren't a bad thing. The key is, and this is something that I'm still learning, because nutrition is not my background, but I am learning that part of it. But you have to find a very good quality supplement that your body is actually going to absorb. Now, saying that, I don't want to get too deep here, whatever, but just because you need, say, vitamin D and you've got a good quality one, well, if there's something else going on, your body still isn't going to absorb it correctly. So that's why it is important that you do get a good quality supplement that you can take. And I tell everybody, you have to give it a minimum of 90 days to 6 months, because it's going to take time. It took 2 to 4 months for it to fall out. So you can't expect to just come in, and all of a sudden in a week, you're going to see hair growth again. No, there's a lot that goes into hair growth before it even comes out of our scalp. So you have to give it time. I do, Nutrafol is one of them that is an all natural plant-based. There's many different ones out there, but anytime I have a client come in and they, are purchasing that or purchasing, some other supplement, I tell them all the time, you have to give it a minimum of 90 days, really 6 months.
Yeah, so when we were on the call last time, like one of the ladies had started biotin. And, I think she was hoping that within a couple weeks to a month that she would see results from that. And just having the information that it's likely no supplement is going to work that quickly, but eventually, and then if you stay on it preventatively, Jen, do you think that it helps like more long-term?
I mean, it can't hurt. There are some things that you can, take too much of, which isn't good. But for the most part, as long as your body is needing it, then yeah, it's fine to stay on stuff like that. Now, what I've learned and what I've, told people is that, biotin, and I remember, years ago, right out of beauty school and just doing hair and all of that, biotin was always the go-to. Well, biotin works a little bit. Biotin is not one, it's definitely not my go-to. It's not one that you're going to see, oh my gosh, I'm taking biotin. Now my hair is going to really start growing. So
Yes.
biotin is definitely one that might help, but it's a very small amount. And you most likely, because you have to be on it for even a longer period of time to even see any effects. It's great for your nails and stuff like that. And it is great for your hair. You just have to know what the right ones and what your body is lacking and what you need.
Okay, that's good. And I'm thinking like you sent me the Nutrafol link because I might be having an elective procedure in the future. And I thought, well, I probably need to get on that. And I haven't had a chance to look at it. But now I'm wondering, Jen, just based upon what you've said today, like when women go on prenatal vitamins, their hair, their nails, it's not just biotin, it's everything to help the baby and the mother be strong. So I'm curious, from what you know from the Nutrafol, is it a combination? Like, is it kind of like a multivitamin? Like they're not just giving you one thing, right?
No, there's vitamin A, C, D, E, there's selenium in it. There's, oh my gosh. Yeah, there's tons of different vitamins, and it depends on your age too. For women, men, they just have one, of course, they have it easy.
Yeah.
Women, they have the women's regular and the women's balance. So the women's balance actually helps with your hormones, your mood. I've had clients that have taken that and they're like, they didn't even realize that it was going to help with that stuff. And then once I tell them, when they go to buy it again or something, I'm like, no, you need the women's balance. Usually I say 40 and up is where you
Yes.
need balance, but so it has different things in there because our bodies are different, when we start to get our 40s, 50s, 60s. So yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So we've talked internally about supplements. We've talked about whatever goes on your body. For most people, eventually it affects your scalp, which affects your hair loss. So it's just making everybody aware that what is going on in your body is likely going to affect your scalp, which then affects your hair. And I think a lot of times, before I got involved with Monat, I just thought about my hair and I never even thought about my scalp. So it's so important to be talking about that. And let's talk about topical products. Like, okay, so one of my friends that I brought to that meeting, the doctors her labs were totally fine. She had been using Monat for a month. And, she said that, her hair is shinier, but she's still obviously working to get some growth going and experiencing loss. But the doctor was like recommending Rogaine. And so the whole purpose of our call that we had that time was to talk to her because she didn't want to take Rogaine and she had just started on Monat. So I have two questions for you. Let's talk about how the topical products help. And then also, something that we didn't talk about, but I noticed after I was sick and I had experienced some hair loss, I thought one thing that was so bizarre is that the hair that I did have left, like, became so dry.
Hmm.
So, not only was I losing hair, but the hair strands themselves, like what I had left was so straw and so dry. So speak to that, and then let's talk about what topical can do for you.
So topicals are definitely, important. Like even when I went to beauty school, many, many years ago, up until recently, we didn't deal with the scalp. I mean, we dealt with the scalp, but it wasn't a big deal. It was like, oh my gosh, our hair. Well, we need to worry about our scalp. We need to make sure that it's cleansed. We need to make sure, we get the buildup off. Not only our hair, we need to get the buildup off of our scalp. The way that I tell people is, for your scalp, we need to make sure that, it's like a crop. If your soil is not, nurtured and taken care of, you're not going to have a crop that's going to grow. So it's the same thing with our hair. We have to have that. So topicals, like with the Monate, what the Monate does is it goes in and it actually cleanses the DHT, which is, hormone that actually causes hair loss in men and women. But it actually cleanses the DHT off of your scalp. What I'm seeing is that people that are going, if they're experiencing, any hair loss from DHT, if they're going, 3, 4, or 5 days without washing their hair, it's like putting fuel on a fire by not washing their hair more often, because that DHT is just coming through the follicles, coming through the scalp, and it's sitting on the scalp. So finally, when you wash your hair, with the Monate, what it does, it's the Capixyl that's in it. It actually goes in and it removes that DHT off of your scalp. So, any topicals and stuff like that, you just want to make sure that it's a clean product. I tell everybody there's the app, and I know I mentioned this before, Think Dirty. You can go on there and, download the app, and it's going to tell you how clean the products are that you're using. So that it's a great tool to find out, because there's a lot of great products out there. There are more and more coming out, as far as, any topicals, so there's a lot of good things with that.
Well, and okay, so back to talking about, because, one of the, I guess you could say, advertising factors, and especially it was for me, because before I started Monate, the products that I used had sulfates, parabens, and, my hair was weighed down. So if I wanted good hair, I washed every day, and I tried to put it off to every other day, but, my hair didn't look good. All right. So then I switch over. Julie's like, here, try this. It's great. And I switch over to Monate. And then once I get all those wax and all that stuff off my hair, I don't even have to shampoo as often, right? Because there's nothing coating. So if, you don't end up with bedhead. If you sleep like this, you don't end up with hair like this. And so that was the thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I can wait 4, 5, sometimes, dry shampoo 6 days. But what you said a moment ago is that if you have something going on with your hair, your scalp, or you've been sick, you're probably going to want to be proactive and get those wonderful ingredients on your hair and your scalp more often, even if it doesn't feel like you need it. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I just go crazy when I see people, they're like, oh, I can go 4 days, 5 days without washing my hair. And I just cringe, because you are getting buildup on your scalp. I wish I could take my scope around to everybody that says that. And once they
show them
scalp, I guarantee you they will never go that long ever again, because you are getting buildup on there. And what's going to happen is those follicles are going to get clogged up, and that hair is going to die because it's not going to be able to grow through there anymore. So it's important. You have to wash your hair. You have to scrub your scalp. You have to exfoliate your scalp. We exfoliate our face and our bodies. Our scalp just is part of it's our skin. It's part of our face, so you have to exfoliate your scalp, just as well as everything else. So it is very important. And like you mentioned too, with your hair, notice, if somebody's sick or you've experienced any fallout, then all of a sudden your hair starts to get dry and brittle. Well, it's because it wasn't getting the nourishment that it should have been getting. So that's what caused the fallout. And in turn, your hair is going to get dry and brittle. I mean, what happens is basically if you're sick or something's going on, you know, somewhere else in your body, your blood flow, your cells are all going to go to that other spot to take care of it and make sure that it's running properly. We don't need our hair to live. So all the nourishment from our hair is going to go away. So
Okay.
that's why that happens.
Well, and so then I think, you know, from the standpoint that there's several of us on here that share Monat, have used Monat for years. And I think, you know, I was a very routine person. I used the same thing because it worked until it didn't. And then when it didn't, that's when I started investigating more of the lines within Monat. So for me, after I had COVID and I suffered hair loss and my hair dried out, I had to do a combination. Not only was I shampooing more often, but, you know, so I was in the place of like, I want hair growth and I need moisturizer. So I combined basically our IR intense repair system with the damage repair system. And so what I was doing was giving my scalp the growth ingredient and then also using the damage repair for my ends. So, you know, it's also important that, you know, if you really care about your hair and you want to get looking better, it might take more than one product because it's, you know, if your strands are drying out, but you're feeding your scalp with everything you have, but you're not adding that extra hydration and moisture, you know, we want you to feel good about your hair, right?
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So, you know, it's just communicating with whoever your Monat market partner is and just investigating in the lines. So, hey, Jen, what is so great about the Rejuvenique oil? Can you speak to that for just a moment?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person to actually go into detail on, you know, on the Rejuvenique oil.
Well, just keep it in layman's terms, because if we share this with anyone, like they need to understand why a Monat market partner might recommend if they're having issues. Because this is in the shampoos and the conditioners, but why would somebody buy it separately?
Well, actually with that product, the molecules are actually so small that are in there that it actually can penetrate into the hair follicles. So a lot of times, you know, we'll use it for oil treatments, you know, just different things like that. So it actually can penetrate in where you have a lot of these oils, or even into your hair. A lot of the oils will just sit on top of with the Rejuvenique oil, it actually goes internally because the molecules are small enough. It actually goes inside. It can actually help and repair the scalp, the hair, you know, all of that. So
it's a burst of nutrients for the hair and scalp. Like you're using healthy shampoo and conditioner, you're doing all the things, but this is just added value, right?
I mean, 101 uses for that oil is pretty darn good, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. All right. So let me go back to gallery and see if anybody has any questions at all about, if you have anybody that you're working with right now that's suffering for hair loss or anything, or any comments too. Have I missed anything? Because Jen, I went through this all with Jen before, and you know, it took us an hour to get through it all, but that's why I did the Q&A, because I wanted to be efficient.
Trying to think if there's anything else that
Thank you, Christina. Okay, Jen, if somebody, can you do me a favor? And I don't know what's easiest, because if somebody is interested in the hair follicle testing to find out what their deficiency is, do you have an email, or what would be the best way to reach out to inquire further about that? Because you don't have to live in the same place. You just collect it, they send it off, and then you get the report and you go over it with them, correct?
Yes. So the only state, and they're working on it, but the only state that does not do it is New York. They won't allow us to go in there just yet to do any testing there. So if you are out of state, I'm in Arizona. If you're out of the state, out of the city, whatever, we have a mail-in process. It's very simple. I send you a video, tells you exactly, you know, what to do. They will mail out the package to you. You actually watch the video. It shows you how to pull the hair, put it in a sealed container. It gets shipped directly back to, I think it's Minnesota where the main office is. They run it and then they send me the results, and then I schedule an hour appointment then later to go over all of that. But yeah, you can definitely do mail-in. So anybody, except for if you're in New York, can do it.
And then, didn't you say the cost is $200?
Yeah, I do it for 200. A lot of the other places do it for usually about 250.
Okay, and so, Jen, because if somebody shares this, because I've made this public, what would be the best way to reach you?
I would say probably private message me on my social media, either on Facebook, which would be, Jennifer McKay Frenzy, or my Instagram, which is, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what I have.
It's
on
like hair spell, yeah,
yeah, hair loss specialist.
yeah, I was like, I remembered it.
I know. Yeah, I need to change that. But yeah, so I would say, message me on their direct message. That's usually how people get a hold of me, is through one of those ways.
Yes, and I just want to thank you because, I think just the information is so powerful for people to understand the time span between the triggering event, the hair loss, how it can go on, how they can be preventative, and just have some solutions when the doctor doesn't necessarily, and potential solutions. That's what we're hoping for, right? We can't make promises, but potential solutions. So, all right, I want to thank everybody for hopping on. And if you have any questions, just message your market partner, message me, message Jen. We are here for you and happy to answer any questions that might come up. All right, guys, everybody have a good evening.
Great, thanks.
Bye.